insulted him a little bit. Got a little out of order yourself.
And Corn Pop was a bad dude.
Her cat was named Vagina.
Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I see issue with that. And again, hey.
You're not going to be able to insult your way to the presidency. That's not going to happen.
I don't know who created Pokemon Go, but I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
I'm Ted Cruz, and my pronoun is kiss my ass.
So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him.
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Hello, dissidents. Welcome, one and all, to a Tuesday night edition of the Do Dissidents podcast. Keaton Weiss here with Russell Dobler, of course.
Hello.
663 in YouTube. Oh, no, what's that? 709 to start on Rumble. And as we kick things off now, 702 in YouTube world, which means we owe you another one in a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Woo! Beautiful. Thank you all for being here tonight. What a crowd to start off. 700 plus in both theaters. How do you like that? Speaking of theaters, speaking of venues, you may notice Russell's bookshelves are back behind him where they belong. Russell, back in New York.
Back. I had food I haven't had for 2 months. I had pizza. I had Indian food. I'm doing all the New York things that I've gone without. Yes. And you may have seen them yesterday. We had a last-minute guest appearance on the Jimmy Dore Show yesterday, so you could have seen them there. But Russell is now back in New York for the next couple weeks, and then you are guest hosting Jimmy's show again in early April. I am in New York for 2.5 weeks. I'm trying to take care of business while I'm here, including, this is going to make people in most of the country laugh, including restoring my driver's rights. No, I didn't lose them the fun way. I wasn't, failing a breathalyzer. I live in Manhattan, man. I haven't driven in at least 12 years. Right. So, I just let it lapse. And when you let it lapse for that long, it's like you never had a license. So now I have a permit. So while I'm here, I'm setting up the road test. And New York's a bitch. You got to take a 5-hour class. After you get the permit, you got to take a 5-hour class. And then you can have a road test. So I'm doing the 5-hour class while I'm here, go out to Jimmy's, and set up the road test for when I get back. Wow, and you're going to take the road test in the city, so that's a bitch of a road test, too, obviously. Not an easy road test. I mean, I've driven cross-country 5 times. I can drive. No, but I mean, New York City driving's harder than out here in the country, in the suburbs, yeah. Sure. I was thinking about doing it in New Orleans, but I was like, it's going to be a pain in the ass, and I'm going to have to transfer the license. It's going to be Louisiana. I got to prove I live here. I'm in an Airbnb. Fuck it. Yeah, the hell with it. Do it when you're back here. Absolutely. All righty, folks. So we got a bunch of stuff to get to tonight, but breaking news before we started the program: Joe Biden has officially clinched the Democratic presidential nomination, the AP projects. So I said he was going to get really close on Super Tuesday, which obviously he did, because you have a lot of high population states there where he got all of the delegates. But tonight is the Georgia primary. And so as Georgia's polls close, the AP projects President Biden formally clinched the Democratic nomination on Tuesday. The Associated Press projects setting up what is expected to be a tense rematch with Republican Donald Trump in the 2020 presidential election. I think they meant 2024. So now, folks, what this means is that the Democrats can, if they want to, officially swap Biden out if they want to at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago, because now more than half of the allotted delegates are pledged for Biden, which means if they make a top-down decision in that cigar smoke-filled back room that they got to put Newsom in, they can do that. They simply tell the delegates that Biden has now officially won more than half, no, it can't be him. It has to be person X, and person X becomes the nominee. So it's over. Now the voters are officially shut out of it. And like I said, we're not going to get into this. Here comes Marianne. Yeah, exactly. Not going to get into this at length, but I suspect they're going to make a change at the August convention. And now they are officially equipped
to do so. It is officially over. He has crossed that 50% threshold.
So
Congratulations.
Congratulations. So you think they're just going to ride it out all the way to August and do the switch in August?
No, I mean, they might decide to before, but it can be formalized in August. So, like, for example, let's say they decide in June that they want to swap him out, and people have a problem with that. And, whoever votes last, it's not California. They're Super Tuesday now. They used to vote at the end. But whoever the last states are have a problem. It doesn't matter, because now 50% of the people they need, 50% plus, are pledged Biden people. So they tell them to vote for someone else, they can vote for someone else. They might not wait till August, but it'll be formalized at the convention. Nobody else can win it before the convention or be declared the nominee before the convention at this point, because he's over 50%.
All right, so this is what I'm going to say. Where are we now? The beginning of March?
Yeah, March 12th.
If they do not do that within the next 2 months, they're not going to do it unless circumstances force them to. Because if that were their plan, they're going to want to have time for whoever they're going to replace him with to really campaign.
Oh, sure.
And get a heads of steam going. So I don't think they would do it in June. Unless, like, he shits himself on stage, at which point that's not a plan. That's responding to conditions.
But I think polling can just tank if the bottom falls out, if it becomes so obvious that he can't
but that's
win.
not a plan. That's not a plan. That's responding to circumstances. I'm saying if that's their plan,
they will.
They
I don't
would
think
do
it's
it
their
by
plan
then.
now. No, if it were their plan now, they'd probably do it now. But I think they're going to be forced to. That's what I'm saying.
Right. Well, that could very well be.
Yeah.
Where he just has a series of moments that are so impossible to overcome that they have to whack him.
Or just if the momentum goes one way, the wrong way. If the polling keeps getting worse and worse, and young people don't come back, and Arab voters don't come back, and the Michigan polling falls apart.
This is very likely.
This is very likely, of course, yeah.
But remember, Biden has a Nixonian quality of being the guy who didn't go to the best schools, who always got laughed at. He has those kinds of resentments, and I think that's a big part of why he's even running for a second term. He has no business running for a second term. He's running for a second term out of ego.
Of course. Absolutely. But, there could be a time where this is what Bob Costas said. They have to give him a talking to and show him the door. Show him the door means they can just, get him in a room and say, listen, we are going to instruct your delegates to vote for someone else. And so, you have to go gracefully. I mean, this is what I'm thinking they might be forced to do. Circumstances may force them to do that. For sure. All right, folks. So we got some segments to do tonight.
And I'm saying he could shit himself on stage.
It's possible, of course. Yeah.
Do not be surprised if you see a load of the brown stuff come tumbling out of his pant leg during one of these speeches.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. Not outside the realm of possibility.
Absolutely. It's going to be like that marathon runner.
Yeah, right. Folks, we got a lot of stuff to get to tonight. It is Tuesday. We normally do not do our post-show Q&As on Tuesday, but because we had a day show on Sunday, the rare day show on Sunday, we are having our Q&A tonight on Rumble exclusively. So after the show is over, come join us at rumble.com/do-dissidents, or our friend and producer Jake, who's in the booth tonight. Round of applause for Jake. Made us this lovely link. DoDissidents.com/Rumble. That takes you right to our Rumble stream. So at the end of the show, for those of you who are watching on YouTube, just put that in your URL, and that takes you over to our Rumble live stream. We already have over 1,000 of you guys over on Rumble right now, so that's fantastic. We are doing a Rumble exclusive live stream tomorrow at 2 p.m. Don't forget, we're a 4-show-a-week podcast right now, so tomorrow we have an absolute barn burner over on Rumble at 2 p.m. We'll talk more about that later in the show, but yeah, just banger after banger after banger. That is going to be a hell of a show tomorrow on Rumble. You are not going to want to miss that one. We're talking about the WPATH leaks. We're talking about George Stephanopoulos. We're talking about a couple things I don't even want to preview here because I don't want to encourage any of that behavior over here on YouTube where we have to play nice. But it is going to be a barn burner. So make sure you are subscribed to our Rumble channel and make sure you are signed up to our Substack newsletter, because all the cool kids who are on our Substack are going to get an email tomorrow morning reminding you not to look on YouTube for the show tomorrow because we won't be here. We will be on Rumble exclusively at 2 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you are on our Substack email list. It's free. Just go there and sign up as a free subscriber. You get all kinds of other perks for signing up for free. Articles. I'm going to have an article coming out pretty soon. I don't know if I'll announce what it's going to be about, but it'll be coming out within the next day or two, I think. You get articles and you get audio podcasts of these live streams. So if you miss it and you want to listen on the way to work, audio, you get that. So, and it's a newsletter telling you when and where we'll be live. So make sure you're signed up all over the place, as they say. Jake is in the booth fielding Rumble rants. Super chats are coming in. We will get to some of those. But let's get to what is really the top story on a lot of people's minds. The Academy Awards were this past Sunday, and filmmaker Jonathan Glazer was really the only person who had anything to say about the Israel-Gaza war. You had a few actors with the red pins, the ceasefire pins, which is fine. That's nice. That's good. But this guy was the only guy who had something to say, a Jewish man who won for his movie The Zone of Interest, obviously a Holocaust-themed film. And so here was his acceptance speech.
Thank you to the Academy for this honor, and to our partners A24, Film for Access, and the Polish Film Institute, to the Auschwitz-Birkenau State Museum for their trust and guidance, to my producers, actors, collaborators. All our choices were made to reflect and confront us in the present, not to say, look what they did then, rather look what we do now. Our film shows where dehumanization leads at its worst. It shaped all of our past and present. Right now, we stand here as men who refute their Jewishness and the Holocaust being hijacked by an occupation which has led to conflict for so many innocent people. Whether the victims of October the
Nice applause from the half of the room who've already been fired by their agents, who have nothing to lose by applauding that. The other half sat silently.
Honestly, I was just thinking that watching this, that, hey, it does take courage for the people who applauded. It really does, man. Because
of course, you're seen there, man. Everybody important is there. Somebody sees you clapping, they tell somebody else. Yeah, of course. Why do you think they all booed Michael Moore in 2003?
Through this whole industry, from the high to the low, from the people at the Oscars to the schmucks that I know, some of whom actually are people who would be at the Oscars, all of them just avoid this entire subject.
Yeah.
They just don't talk about it. I think some of them have awareness, like Caitlin Johnston pointed out. You don't want to have to answer for supporting this later.
Right.
And at the same time, if they sympathize with the Palestinians, they don't want to lose work over it. Which, hey, if you just shut the fuck up and didn't want a virtue signal about Orange Man bad and Moms of Liberty and whatever other costless cause you decide to jump up on a soapbox about, I could take that. I could understand that. But these people pretend to be political. Cost-free politics. Anything that's going to cost them something, we're seeing now how they react. They shut up immediately.
Exactly. So I want to get this quote in because this is going to be the point of some future debate. Right now, we stand here as men who refute their Jewishness. He goes on to say, this is very important, you're not going to want to miss this part.
Refute their Jewishness and the Holocaust being hijacked by an occupation which has led to conflict.
Refute their Jewishness and the Holocaust being hijacked by an occupation. Okay, now we'll let this finish and then we'll do more.
For so many innocent people. Whether the victims of October the... Whether the victims of October the 7th in Israel or the ongoing attack on Gaza, all are victims of this dehumanization. How do we resist? Alexandra Bistron Kaladziejczak, the girl who glows in the film as she did in life, chose to. I dedicate this to her memory and her resistance. Thank you.
Okay, so Jewish man comes up and says, we are here as men who refute their Jewishness being hijacked for an occupation which has harmed so many innocent people. And then he even acknowledged the loss of life on both October 7th and the aftermath.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Okay, so let's hear from this guy. Michael Rappaport. Jonathan Glazer exploited the Holocaust.
That's their line. That's their line. All of them are saying that. He exploited it. All right. So, well, you could say that about Simon Wiesenthal, right? He made a living talking about the Holocaust.
Yeah.
Right? So was he exploiting it? You could say that about literally anyone who produces anything that you would charge money to consume, a book, a movie. You could say they're museums.
It was a movie about the Holocaust that won an Oscar. So what are you talking about, right? Exploited the Holocaust, its victims and survivors, while you refute your Jewishness in front of the world. You did this when things are as dire for Jews as they've been since the Holocaust. You embarrass yourself, not us. Let's go to the video for the rest of this.
Refute your Jewishness at the Academy Awards, and the thing that's upset.
See, this is the premium Rappaport content because he's saying this into a microphone. This is for the official podcast. You think we have poor mic technique? Look at this guy. This is the official Rappaport podcast, not just him ranting in the street, right? This is for the premium subscribers here. Top-notch content.
Can you imagine the mind of a person that would pay money to get more of this?
Or that would just subscribe to the free pod, listen to this in the car for like an hour? like he puts the videos out there 60 seconds. Imagine listening to this for an hour straight. But let's hear it.
You refute your Jewishness at the Academy Awards, and the thing that's upsetting, or one of the things that's upsetting about it, is nobody else said Jewishness, Jew, or Israel at the Academy Awards except for one motherfucker who refutes his Jewishness.
Why do you think that is, Michael?
And people are like, oh, well, maybe he didn't mean this. Or he had plenty of opportunity to clarify himself if he didn't mean it. You refute your Jewishness, and you motherfuckers are up there clapping and applauding, and you refute your Jewishness on a night where no one says the word hostages or Jew or Jewishness or Israel. Shame
or
on
genocide.
You, you fuck.
Yeah, or genocide. Exactly. Or genocide.
It's called adding insult to injury. Shame
or
on
ICJ.
You. Yeah. I love this.
And people are like, oh, well, maybe he didn't mean this. Or he had plenty of opportunity to clarify himself.
Dipshit, he didn't have to clarify. You guys are the ones
He was clear.
Manipulating what he said. If he had said, I refute my Jewishness, clarification might be needed because you might not know what he meant by that. But the full statement was, we are men who refute their Jewishness being used, or what was it? Not weaponized, being hijacked. That was the word.
Hijacked.
For an occupation. So what he said was completely clear, but Michael Rappaport is not alone in blatantly lying about what this man said. Here's Batya Ungar Sargon. I simply cannot fathom the moral rot in someone's soul that leads them to win an award for a movie about the Holocaust, and with the platform given to them, to accept that award by saying, we stand here as men who refute their Jewishness. And obviously, community notes, noted, you are deliberately omitting the second half of the sentence. Deliberately. On purpose.
Well, and that's really disgraceful in her case because Michael Rappaport, he's clearly shamarded. Yeah. He's clearly not playing with... he's not the sharpest knife in the drawer, shall we say.
He knows he's full of shit, too. You don't think that guy watches the Oscars? They're all a bunch of fucking liars.
Yeah, but he is a congenital moron. She's a very smart woman. Like, there's no way that she does not know better than that.
They're just absolute liars. It says right here, the full quote. Yeah,
and it also tells you how hollow the underlying premises of their cause is. If your cause is really righteous, you don't need to use these kinds of tactics. You don't need to be this deceitful to try to claim the moral high ground. It's easy enough to claim through the facts. You don't have to change the facts.
No, they can't make a point without lying. That was part of my tweeted response to this. The other part's probably not YouTube safe, so I won't get into it. But here's Rabbi S. Litvin, Jonathan Glazer's Sick, as they call it, the typo. The Zone of Interest is a Holocaust movie not about Jews. It's hardly surprising he refutes his Jewishness and supports those who dream of a land without Jews. Believe me, John, more than you are embarrassed to be Jewish. We are embarrassed you are Jewish. What an illiterate thing to write. Here's Meghan McCain. A lot of people in Hollywood showing their ass when a man gets on stage to refute his Jewishness, and half the room claps. So she watched it because she saw half the room clapping.
Stay in your lane, Megan.
Yeah. Mehdi Hassan, friend of the show, great guy, Mehdi Hassan, says, we've never had a bad word to say about him. That's not what he did. This is a lie. It's a complete cut-off distortion of his full quote, but now this lie has gone viral, and people like Meghan McCain and Batyangar Sargon are refusing to delete their disinformation tweets despite hundreds of people informing or correcting them. Shameful. Meghan, after being caught and called out, tweets out, "No peace, bitch." Nice. Keeping it very classy there, Megan. I'm sure your father would be
I'm
proud.
starting to rethink this whole genocide thing. Their arguments are really persuasive.
No, they're such charmers.
Maybe we're on the wrong side of this.
Yeah, they're such charmers, aren't they? Okay, so it's one thing to see a bunch of Twitter accounts lie about this. Here's the industry standard in Hollywood. Variety magazine, Hollywood Reporter, and Variety. These are the two main trade papers in LA show business. I would say Variety is the number one. That's like the New York Times of Hollywood trade magazines, right? Variety did the same exact thing. They quoted, "Our film shows where dehumanization leads," Glazer said. "It shaped all of our past and present. Right now, we stand here as men who refute their Jewishness, whether the victims of October 7th in Israel." They didn't put the ... They didn't put the ellipsis to show that there was stuff they ometed.
That's
they
amazing.
Put a period right there. Deliberately cut it short. They were called out here. Variety should really correct this. Here's the zoom in where you can see where they go from refute their Jewishness to the next sentence. No ellipsis. You're supposed to at least put the ellipsis there to show you're omitting stuff. Nope. So that's journalistic malpractice there. And then after being caught, looks like they did update it to include the full quote after they got called out for it. So just unbelievably disgusting and deceptive. But now I'm going to show you some tweets from accounts who liked what he had to say. Notice something. We get the full quote and we get the video. Look at that. Dilly Hussein, he appreciated the quote. Siddharth appreciated the quote. If not now, Jewish organization, pro-Palestine Jewish organization, Code Pink. Notice a pattern? I did. That's why I tweeted this out. Noticing a pattern. The people who praise Jonathan Glazer's speech tend to quote his full statement and provide video evidence to support their post. Zionists who are trashing the speech omit the second part of the sentence and never show the actual video of what he said. Notice that? Not a single person who had a bad thing to say about this speech actually showed it to you. None of them showed it to you. They did a Kyle Kalinske, Marianne job.
Right. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yep.
Yeah.
Funny how that works.
They can't. The first I heard of this was I've mentioned I've got a like foaming at the mouth Zionist, like somebody who, when this really goes bad, they're gonna wind up being tried at Nuremberg, just for their posts. The first I heard of this, it's just like any other group of indoctrinated people. They all sing from the same choir book. And so the first I heard of this was, I didn't know anything about it. Of course, I didn't watch the Oscars. Yes, after exploiting the Holocaust, he then denies his Jewishness. That was the first I heard. And then you show me all this, and that's the narrative. It's right. They all just get together, and if you repeat a lie often enough, people will believe it. That's their hope.
Yeah, just an abject lie. And isn't it telling? They can't make a single point without lying.
Although morons, the rank and file morons, I think it's Orwellian. I think they honestly convince themselves. I think it's a double think process.
Of course.
They commit themselves to the idea and they actually believe what they're saying.
Right. No, at a certain point,
I've seen Zionists say that Hamas has turned down 9-peace ceasefire deals.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Where'd they hear that?
Right.
But they believe it.
Right. Exactly. No, look, at a certain point, yes, you have the people who will believe 2 + 2 = 5. Right. Yeah, but then, like Variety magazine, they know better than to misquote him intentionally like that.
That was I mean, you want to talk about Orwellian. I mean, that's what the Ministry of Truth does.
Exactly. Exactly. Patrick Donahue, thanks for the €10. The Zionist lies about the Oscars speech is so bad it's funny. Even though we could see what they said, they still distort it. Like we can see them commit genocide in plain sight, and they still deny it. Yes. Thank you very much, Patrick. Let's get that virtual cowbell sound drop out for Mike. Thanks for the $60. That's very generous of you, Mike. Thank you for that donation. Cheers for the good work y'all do. Dissident forever. Thank you.
Oh,
sir.
I'm back.
Oh, you got the actual cowbell. That's right.
That's right. I have a cowbell.
He has a cowbell.
Forgot.
We don't need the virtual cowbell. It's been so long.
Seriously.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it's amazing. All right. So
I wasn't dragging this shit around in my luggage.
Yeah. No. You've probably been asked enough questions by airport security. You don't need to explain a cowbell.
Motherfucker, man. I do not understand how, what is it, 23 years after 9/11? They cannot tell what a fucking microphone looks like under an X-ray.
Yeah, nobody travels, no podcasters. I guess most podcasters are the personality type like me. We don't leave the house very often. We don't travel. So maybe not a lot of microphones
What about
end
musicians?
up in luggage. That's true, musicians. Yes.
I was traveling in and out of fucking New Orleans.
Right.
They don't bring in microphones?
Right. Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. You would think they would know what a microphone looks like. Roy the Goy over on Rumble. Hey, Russell, is the hot Russian guy renting your spare room, crushing your self-esteem and fueling your innate feelings of inadequacy.
Let me tell you something about that cat. I mean, he's Ukrainian, actually. I don't know how he did it. That guy made those floors spotless. This was okay. So there was.
If you notice, folks, our Ukraine coverage is going to be on hiatus as long as Russell's got this Ukrainian guy living there.
As long as he's staying here and cleaning this house, dude. He fixed the window. He cleaned all the grime off it. I haven't seen the freaking the outside of the window in the kitchen since 2009. He made it spotless.
Wow.
Like this was a case. I came back, and normally you rent to somebody, it's worse than you left it. I came back. I don't know how he even did it, because wood floors eventually kind of grime gets in them. Right. And unless you're going to get on your hands and knees with a scrub brush, it's always even if you mop, it's a little grimy. He got all that shit out, man. It's all fucking clean.
Wow. There you go.
This fucking guy, man, he can stay.
He could stay. He's welcome. A. Hamilton, is British food that bad if made correctly? Yes. Thank you, A. Hamilton.
Thank you.
Good one. Glazer's speech cleared the smug cloud of Clooney. Yes, well put. Well put. Thank you very much. For that, yes, we know Boeing whistleblower John Barnett found dead. Big surprise. Also, you should do 2 minutes to midnight at 23:58 likes and views.
Oh, I like that idea.
I like that. 23:58. That requires some math, because we usually don't hit 23:58 all at once. Although it can happen. It can happen.
I keep meaning to. I'll try after, because we got one show after another. After Thursday, I'm going to make that a project for the weekend to find other songs with numbers in them.
Yeah, that would be a good project for sure. All right, folks. Where we left off on the last show was Joe Biden saying that a ground invasion of Rafah was his red line, but not really, because he will back Israel no matter what. Well, Benjamin Netanyahu certainly got that message. Netanyahu vows to defy Biden's red line on Rafah. Politico reports Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he intends to press ahead with an invasion of the city of Rafah on the southern border of the Gaza Strip in defiance of United States President Joe Biden, who has warned such an offensive would be a, quote, red line. Amid signs of increasing frustration with Netanyahu, the U.S. president told MSNBC on Saturday that he opposed an escalation of the conflict into Rafah and that he could not accept 30,000 more Palestinians dead. Ramadan is underway, and there has been no ceasefire, by the way, folks. Relief organizations have warned that an attack on Rafah on the border with Egypt, now a refuge for about half of Gaza's 2.3 million population, would result in widespread civilian casualties. Germany's foreign minister, Annalena Baerbock, said it would be a, quote, humanitarian catastrophe. When asked on Sunday whether Israeli forces would move into Rafah, Netanyahu replied, "We'll go there. We're not going to leave them. You know, I have a red line. You know what that red line is? That October 7th doesn't happen again. Never happens again. The prime minister was referring to the murderous Hamas raid that killed more than 1,160 people in Israel and triggered the war. Without naming them, Netanyahu claimed he had the tacit support of several Arab leaders for driving ahead with the onslaught against Hamas. They understand that and even agree with it quietly. Yeah, I'm sure. Quietly, they agree. Yeah, the Arab leaders want us to go in. He said in an interview with Axel Springer, Politico's parent company, they understand Hamas is part of the Iranian terror axis. Israel's prime minister also doubled down on his rejection of the possibility of a Palestinian state, a topic that pits Israel against most of the rest of the world. The positions that I espouse are supported by the overwhelming majority of Israelis who say to you after October 7th, we don't want to see a Palestinian state, he said. Netanyahu also directly addressed criticism from Biden, who has said the Israeli leader is, quote, hurting Israel more than helping Israel. Netanyahu hit back, saying while he didn't know exactly what the president meant, if Biden was saying he was contravening the wishes or interests of Israel, he was, quote, wrong on both counts. So, you know, we've talked about this in the past. Biden is in a political bind here, and Netanyahu is in a political bind in Israel. Because despite his insistence that the people are on his side, and on that question, they are on his side, and they actually support a Rafah invasion because they are convinced that...
According to, we got to follow up on this. Nick posted a poll, 75% of Israelis support going into Rafah, according to this poll.
Yeah, because now they are convinced that the only way they're going to get their hostages back ever is after a total victory, because they know that Netanyahu's not going to make a deal. But Netanyahu's refusal to make a deal for the hostages has not gone unnoticed, despite his chest pounding here that we read in the article. This is from Haaretz. This is just from 3 days ago. Thousands of Israelis protest government. Police use water cannons in Tel Aviv. 16 were arrested in demonstrations against Benjamin Netanyahu's government held around the Israel, including Haifa, Beersheba, Caesarea, I hope I'm getting those names right, and Tel Aviv, where protesters temporarily blocked Tel Aviv's Ayalon highway.
Only democracy in the Middle East, folks.
Only democracy in the Middle East, and those water cannons are no joke. Thousands of Israelis demanded early elections in anti-government protests across the country on Saturday. Among the speakers in Tel Aviv was Yahel Kurlander, who has been displaced from her home in the Galilee because of Hezbollah attacks. Quote, everyone knows that those who abandon the South won't rescue the North, she said, as she criticized Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's government. The hostages could have been my brothers and sisters. We, the people of the Galilee, were preparing for a similar scenario. Kurlander criticized Netanyahu, saying, I, who have been evacuated from my home, don't interest Netanyahu. The hostages don't interest him. The bereaved families don't interest him. She also went to say the starving Palestinians don't interest him as well, but I must have omitted that by accident. I apologize.
Oh, yeah.
She said the starving Palestinians don't interest him. Only Bibi interests Bibi. That was the full quote. I thought I had that in there. I apologize. I must not have copied that the right way. But in a different town, some 1,000 people demonstrated in Caesarea near Netanyahu's private residence, calling for his removal from office. Among the speakers was Brigadier General Ofer Doron, who served as second in command of the Navy. In his speech, he addressed Netanyahu and said, quote, you shaped the public service in your image and in the image of your stooges, weak, hesitant, running away from difficult decisions and conflicts. Your policy is entirely aimed at one thing, to stay in power at any cost, and the war serves that goal perfectly. Hundreds also gathered to demonstrate in Beersheba. Sigalet Hillel, whose son Ori, wow, that's a tough one, Chernichovsky, was murdered at the Nova Music Festival in Reim, spoke, I am not a left-wing person and certainly not a privileged one, she said. As a bereaved mother, I say my anguished and battered people yearn for true leadership that will chart the path and not burn everything down. Addressing Netanyahu, she added, there are many culprits, but there is only one person who is responsible, and that is you. So all of that is to say that for all of his chest pounding, he is not popular there. He is not a popular figure there. And so you have two political leaders who feel like they are completely in a bind. Biden feels like he's at Netanyahu's mercy because he's not going to stand up to him in any meaningful way. But Netanyahu feels like he can only double and triple down on this nationalist project because he himself is, in a very, very precarious spot vis-a-vis his own people. And while there is frustration in Israel that he is not open to taking any deal to get these hostages back, which is their top priority, he feels like he has to prolong the war in order to be the wartime leader that they won't get rid of. That's what it looks like to me. And it doesn't seem to be working as well as it usually does.
Well, because any Israeli with any sense can see that this is the end of Israel as a member of the family of nations, as it's often referred to.
And they also know that the more scorched earth is
you're never you're never coming back from that. I mean, more and more brands are being outed as Israeli or Israeli linked and boycotted. I mean, McDonald's. I won't go to a McDonald's now. A lot of people won't go to a McDonald's now. Enough that it's hurting their profits.
Their earnings are hurting. Yeah,
their earnings are down. Morton Salt, I believe, I just heard is also Israeli. I had no idea. Obviously, Sabra. This especially because all signs indicate Netanyahu is going to follow through.
Yes. And that's going to put the hostages in graver danger, too, from their point of view, right? That's what they're more worried about.
Of course, if they can't keep themselves alive, how are they going to keep these hostages alive? It's not even a question of them executing the hostages.
Right.
They'll be executed by Israel.
Right. What are you going to do? Exactly.
When the images of these starving women and children come out, I mean, it's bad enough already in terms of Israel's standing in the world. That's just it's over. They are going to be a pariah state, even if they stop tomorrow. After that, I don't even see how the Arab nations, who disgustingly are in the pockets of the West that have been bought off with our economic aid, I don't see how they even maintain their standing with their own people if they allow this to happen. I think it's going to destabilize the entire region ultimately.
Yes. Yeah, it will. And I think a growing number of people in Israel seem to be realizing that just out of self-interest and self-preservation, they need to get this under control. But their leader feels like his only play is to play the wartime leader and to play to that sense of nationalism.
Well, wasn't he on the verge of getting tried for crimes and corruption before all this happened?
Oh, yeah. There were massive protests in the summer of 2023 with his Supreme Court power play. I mean, this is the most right-wing government that they've ever had. And, the fact that Biden can't even play on that, right? He can't even use that as some kind of leverage. Like, hey, we can find a middle ground here for your own good. For your own good, you can find a middle ground, but he won't even go there. It's just a disgusting, horrible thing. I mean, we're talking now in terms of like the political gamesmanship between these two leaders, and it's just so clear who holds all of the cards, even though he's politically unpopular in his home country. Like, he's not even popular in Israel, and he still holds all the cards over Biden. Yeah, it's a red line, but we're never going to cut off any funding. It's just a pathetic situation.
But then Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib talk about it being all about the Benjamins re-AIPAC.
Right.
And they have to go on an apology tour because that's an anti-Semitic statement.
Right, that's a trope.
Clearly, AIPAC controls American foreign policy. And as we exposed in a previous segment, all the election interference that was attributed to Russia in a Great Nation article, it was demonstrated actually was Israel. A lot of the stuff that looks fishy, a lot of the evidence around the yeah, there was a there. It was Israel. It was not Russia.
Yeah, exactly. And that was a pretty mainstream liberal publication that printed that.
Right.
Yeah. Andres Torres, thanks for the $4.99. All the astrologists are saying that Kamala will enter her career peak right after the coming eclipse in April. Peace from East LA, I'm assuming that means. Thank you, Andres. Thank you for that insight. Didn't see that one coming. Let's see here. The old shut the hell up man looks older than a boomer, Biden's generation, so get your digs more accurate. Oh, yeah, the guy that we put on the Kirsten Gillibrand thing. The stop guy sadly looks like a boomer, yeah. I'm sure, yeah, the guy who said, shut the hell up, you stupid ass. Stop it! Yeah, okay, point taken. My neck hurts when Russell shakes head. Oh, and he does the headbang? Yeah, you feel that one? It communicates.
You feel it? Do you do it in sync with me?
Yeah, there you go. That's good. That means it's powerful. He has already soiled himself in front of the Pope, says Abiding 71, thanks to the dollar. Yep, people are saying that.
Some people are saying.
Fedoras and Shapiro are the worst. Yeah, we might cover the Ben Shapiro retirement age thing tomorrow as part of our Rumble show. Or we might do it Thursday morning. By Thursday, it'll be old, though. We probably got to do it tomorrow. We'll probably will. It's a hot one. I mean, I don't really understand why it's such a hot one. It's like a Republican being a Republican. I mean, that's a conservative talking point, is that we have to raise the retirement age. But if the people want it, we will give the people what they want.
They've been saying that forever.
Yeah, they've been saying that forever.
In fact, I think our current president said that.
At one point, was he for raising the retirement age?
I believe he was, yeah.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll do that tomorrow. Where's Skill? With all Rappaport's Israel simping,
was he for raising it or he was for cutting it?
Maybe you slashing the retirement age or slashing the benefits. He's wanted to cut Social Security before.
Yeah, he wanted to cut Social Security. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah. With all Rappaport's Israel simping, he's still not an important enough name to get an Oscars invite. Yeah, no, left off the list there. But it's funny, he would have done like a Jose Vega job at the Oscars if that guy started talking at the Oscar speech.
That actually that would have brought some of that Will Smith excitement to the Oscars.
Yeah, exactly. You would have had another Will Smith. Except with Michael Rappaport. That'd be good. Lars and Rune, thanks for the $1.99. Appreciate that. Seb Griffith said, check out the band Nuclear Powered Trio. Will do, Seb. Thank you for the recommendation. Okay. I saw a couple of you guys were thinking that intro music sound like Medeski, Martin, and Wood. Shout out to you guys. That's a great band. So I'm glad you guys know that. They haven't been like popular for a while, but yeah, no, that's a great band. All right. A foreign object. Thank you for the $19.99. Very generous of you. I hate cleaning. $60 billion in aid to Russell's guest. Yeah. Also, who's going to turn orange for the Trump's inauguration? Glad chemo worked out, Keaton. Yeah. Hair's coming right back. Jake got a haircut that was similar to mine, and his grows back just as fast as mine. And look at this beard growing back too. I got to shave again. Yeah.
It's those T levels, man. It's those T levels.
I suppose so.
You got a cashier at the supermarket pregnant. You just looked at her.
I wish I had more energy. Isn't testosterone supposed to give you energy?
To the chosen one.
Man. I don't know. I feel tired. Maybe that's just because I have twins. That's why I'm tired. So even the
wait
even
till
the
third one comes. I'm dreading that. I'm
Yeah.
I'm dreading when that kid comes, man. It's going to be a fucking nightmare. I can see it already.
It's going to be wild. We had the full anatomy ultrasound this afternoon, so we got to see some cool pictures of them. Maybe I'll show you guys some of the ultrasound pictures of them maybe tomorrow when I grab them. But yeah, starting to look like a real guy down there. Okay. So let's take a look at some more video here. Obviously, Joe Biden mentioned on MSNBC famously last week that a ground invasion of Rafah was his quote-unquote red line and that we can't have 30,000 more dead Palestinians. We just can't have it. That begs a certain question that I asked myself when I heard that, and thankfully, a reporter had the wherewithal to ask State Department spokesman Matthew Miller at a briefing. So let's go to the tape.
And said that we cannot afford to have 30,000 more Palestinians dead, indicating a red line if Israel carries on with the plan to go to Rafah. So is 60,000 Palestinian dead is a red line, and 30,000 was not a red line?
If Mark Regev is the Israeli Renfield, This guy is the American Mark Regev.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he is the American Mark Regev. Yeah, that's right. And he does. He has that. He does. He has that quality about him. That look. Yeah.
Well, this guy looks like he's the vampire.
Yeah, right.
He's the vampire
like
they serve.
Yes, yes. What do they call him? Count Miller, we'll call him.
Yeah.
Yeah, Count Miller here at the State Department.
Palestinian dead is a red line, and 30,000 was not a red line. And if you answer, just one second, if you answer is we don't want to see any civilian Palestinians dead, which is the usual answer you give us, what did you do in the last 5 months to make sure that Israel avoid killing civilians, which we know as a fact is 70% are women and children?
So first of all, I think you're completely distorting the president's remarks. That was not what he said. It's not the intention of his remarks.
That's exactly what he said. And I know it's exactly what he said because it stood out to me. How can you say we can't have 30,000 more dead Palestinians? Could you tolerate the first 30,000? Could you tolerate the first 5,000? The first 3,000? I mean, look at these numbers that we are talking about. Of course, saying that another 30,000 dead we can't have begs the question, well, what about the first 30,000? How have we not crossed the red line already, especially when 70% of the casualties are women and children? Like, how have we not crossed that already? What, that's not a reasonable thing to ask? Also, and it's just, as a matter of fact, not, contrary to what he says, a distortion of what Joe Biden said. That is exactly word for word, Joe, what he said, because it stood out to me the same way it stood out to this woman, so I'm glad she asked the question.
Well, on another level, Biden's mouth's writing a check his ass can't cash, because what are you going to do about it?
Mm-hmm.
Like you laid out, we can't have that. Well, he's going to do it. So what are you going to do? So what are you going to do then? What are you going to say about it?
It could be a foregone conclusion already, even if they don't invade on the ground.
Exactly.
We're going to do a segment on starving children tomorrow with footage that would probably get age restricted on YouTube. It wouldn't get banned, but it would get age restricted. So we're going to show that tomorrow. It might already be too late to stop 30,000 from dying.
Right.
I heard somebody say the other day, if we stopped right now, another 6,000 would die from lack of food over the next several weeks to months. The longer this goes on, the more those numbers add up. In a couple weeks, you could be looking at another 30,000 dead inevitably, no matter what. So what the fuck is this guy talking about? And how is that a distortion of what Joe Biden said? But let's see. Let's see how he tries to spin this.
And I don't think is a fair reading of his remarks. What he was saying is consistent with what we have always said, which is we don't want to see a single civilian die in this conflict. Now, as we have talked about at length, both in this room and in other rooms here in Washington, from other podiums and in other forums on behalf of the United States, this is a difficult situation, but precisely because of the way Hamas chose to conduct this war. Hamas launched this war on October 7th, went into Israel, and then immediately fled back into Gaza, and not only hid behind hostages that they took, Israeli citizens, but hid behind Palestinian civilians. And so Hamas bears a great deal of responsibility for putting civilians in harm's way. But that said, when you ask what it is that we have done, we have consistently engaged with the government of Israel to encourage them to take steps to minimize civilian casualties. That has been the hallmark of our engagement with the government of Israel since day one.
And what disciplinary action has been brought against any members of the IDF? Have we seen any IDF members even be dismissed, even be fired, even be let go? Because we've been following this very, very, very closely. As far as I understand, 4 settlers who were especially violent in the West Bank got sanctioned. Remember when Biden made that show of cracking down on the violent settlers' illegal activities?
Right.
What disciplinary actions have been imposed on IDF members who clearly, I mean, we've all seen the videos, those we really can't show you here on YouTube. We've all seen the videos of them going through the homes and abusing people and then rifling through women's underwear and shit like that. Like, has anybody been disciplined for that at
World's
all?
most moral army.
Yeah. World's most moral army. No, they haven't. Another reporter actually asked him that later on in this briefing. Nothing whatsoever to say, but let's keep going.
But the very tragic fact of the matter is that they are engaging in an urban environment where Hamas hides its tunnels under schools, under mosques, under apartment buildings. We have to see Hamas leaders embed themselves in apartment buildings with civilians, including children, including women. And so it is a very difficult
the
situation.
Israelis embedded themselves in somebody else's country.
I will say, finally, that because of that incredible human toll and because of the incredibly dire humanitarian situation in Gaza, it is why we have been so intensely engaged on trying to achieve a ceasefire that would see cessation of hostilities,
For how long?
alleviation of suffering of the Palestinian people, and an increase in humanitarian assistance coming.
Okay, but Hamas is not your ally, is not your partner. You designated as a terrorist organization. I'm asking on the other side, which is you share the same value with them, which is Israel. So my question to you is not about Hamas and how the war was started, because we passed that stage, not to take away from what happened on October 7th. But my point to you is
I condemn Hamas.
This administration do to use the leverage that that you have over Israel to make sure that no more civilians are dead.
But Nadia, my point is, you can't answer the question about Israel's conduct without giving an accurate assessment of the situation that they are in.
Okay, so let's talk about this accurate assessment of the situation they are in. This is what, don't let anybody tell you this is not rank racism at a certain point. This is Noam Chomsky's worthy and unworthy victims. If a domestic terrorist, God forbid, shacked up in an apartment high-rise in New York City that had 700-800 people living in it, would we be okay with sounding an alarm 20 minutes before we bomb it and then just dropping a bomb on the building? Because that's what happens. That's what's happened in Gaza. That's what just happened in Rafah about a week ago. Would we be okay with that? No, we would not. That's why you have police. That's why you have your SWAT teams. Isn't that why you have intelligence agencies? In theory, I know, right? They have an intelligence network. We have an intelligence network that we would no doubt share with them. So the idea that if an American domestic terrorist organization shacked up in an apartment building, that we, as American citizens, would be okay with our government, no matter who the president is, with our government saying, we're going to blow this whole fucking building up. We would never be okay with that. Why? Because there's innocent people in the building, and you have to exercise a level of concern for their lives. So we would never tolerate that. So why do we tolerate it here? We tolerate it here because they are unworthy victims in the eyes of Israel and the West. Well, what are we supposed to do? They're hiding behind civilians. So in their mind, what? You have to just go through the civilians to get the guy? That's what Israel did at the Jabalia refugee camp. They blew up that entire place. They killed a couple hundred people because they said there was a Hamas commander there who we had to go after. And even Wolf Blitzer, a guy who got his start as an AIPAC beat reporter, I think, he says, so you bombed hundreds of people knowing you could kill hundreds of people just because there was one guy there? And he says, yep, that's right. That was early on in this conflict. That was months and months and months ago. And the same thing has happened over and over and over again. So whatever accurate assessment you have, and yes, there have been, I've heard it contested that to what extent did they use human shields, because those tunnels under Al-Shifa were old tunnels. The Washington Post reported that there was no evidence to suggest that those were active Hamas tunnels, right? But even if they do hide behind human shields, that's still not that is not an excuse to kill the humans that they hide behind.
Right.
They are civilians. You still owe it to civilians to respect civilian life, no matter what.
Well, and if you remember, at the beginning of the war, there was all this debate about whether Israel had bombed the hospital or it had been a Hamas rocket. Now, from what I've read, they have bombed every hospital. So were those all Hamas rockets?
Yeah, right.
They bombed every hospital. They've bombed every university.
Every university, almost 200 healthcare centers, not just the hospitals, but the other offices as well.
Yeah, this, in keeping with the Chomsky theme, if you remember, there was that reporter. I got to look up this reporter's name. The one who gave up the game when the Ukraine war broke out, saying, it's just strange because these are people who look like us. Mm-hmm. That just said it all. And if you look at the entire Israeli Zionist project, it's built on worthy and unworthy victims, because instead of making the white master race Germans pay for their crimes by giving up the Rhine, giving that to the Jews, well, no, we're not going to do that to Germans.
Right.
There are some brown people over here and there's some kind of weird specious theocratic claim of the Jews. So okay, so we'll justify it that way. But don't make the Germans pay for this. Make some brown people pay for it.
Exactly. That's why it is a racist project and a racist state in its conception, way back to before it was even founded. All right, folks, let's go to our patron scroll. Jake, if you could throw that up on the screen, please, and thank you, sir. You can go and support our project at patreon.com/do dissidents. We got our patron scroll here. These are all the folks who have pitched in and supported our program. You guys are the backbone of the show.
We're on a mission from God.
Yeah, there we go. On a mission from God. We like to make it worth your while by putting your name up here on the screen, giving you call-in access to our post-show Q&As on Rumble, which is coming up later this evening after the show. Tonight we will be on Rumble for our Q&A. All are welcome to join and watch. Our patrons have call-in access to that. You could also join our Substack. Go to dodissidents.substack.com. If you become a paid member there, you get the same perks as on Patreon and on Locals. So that's dodissidents.locals.com. If you're watching on Rumble right now, and we've got almost 1,500 of you guys in there, 1,489, you can hit that join button underneath the screen, join our Locals, and call into the Q&A after the show. So like I said, we do try and make it worth your while as best we can. We have a promotional giveaway, which is almost through. It's almost run its course. I'm going to toss to Russell after the scroll comes up so you can show it. But you're going to want to sign up if you can, please. It really helps keep this project going. We are now on 4 days a week because of our Patreon members, our paid Substackers, and our paid Locals members. They are the ones who made it possible for us to take that extra day off and do a fourth show. So now we are truly a full-time operation here. Thanks to you lovely people. And join our Substack for free either way, because like I said, some of these fourth shows a week are on Rumble. Tomorrow we are on Rumble exclusively, and that is going to be a really, really great show. We have a killer lineup of topics over there on Rumble, 2 p.m. Eastern. So, like I mentioned, because Russell was in New Orleans and got some authentic Mardi Gras merch, we have put together a little patron sweepstakes. So, new signups. If you signed up at the $15 a month level or at the $5 a month level since we launched that, which would have been February 15th, and you have not listed your mailing information on your Patreon account or your Substack or your Locals, which I don't think they offer you there, please send us a message, either an email or through one of the apps. You can message us direct through Substack. They have a chat feature. I believe Locals has a chat feature, but maybe not. If you can't use the chat feature in the app, just send us an email, dodissidents@gmail.com. Give us your mailing address because we have to mail you your merch. Well, it's not merch. I guess it's technically, beads are kind of merch. You can wear them, right?
Sure.
Swag.
Yeah.
They're more swag.
It's swag.
It's swag.
That's swag.
It's swag. Right.
All right, so listen. So this is what I'm going to say, because I dragged this stuff all the way back to New York for you all. If you don't send your address by March 28th, that's it. That is the cutoff. Anything that's left that I don't want is going, I'm giving it to the homeless.
There you go.
Because
So you got
if there's
16
one
days.
thing the homeless need, it's Mardi Gras swag. But we have something very special for tonight. So you might notice back here this skull, but what you might not have noticed is it's a different skull. Okay, so this one I bought in New Orleans in 2019.
Wow, look at that.
And I overpacked the bag. So it's always been broken. I took it out of the bag that way. And when I went back after the pandemic, I couldn't find this anywhere. So I figured probably the company that manufactured it, because of the pandemic, had gone out of operation for a while. I thought they went out of business. This time when I went back, I was able to find a new one.
Wow.
So the new one is going to live on the shelf. This one, for the next person who signs up as a patron at the $8 or above level, you can have the original skull that used to live here.
All right.
That will be yours. So And don't forget to give us your address, for God's sakes.
So it's 10:09. All right, so I got to make sure that I'm watching carefully. So when I get the notification, the first one to come after 10:09, you get that. Everybody else, you get plenty of other stuff too.
We still got Mardi Gras swag, I believe.
We still have Mardi Gras swag, so you'll still get that.
Yep.
And you still get all the other perks, all the content and stuff like that, and the good karma of supporting independent media. All right, let's go to David Santucci. Where are the people who were calling for no-fly zones in Libya and Syria? Yeah, it's a good question. Good question. Hadn't heard about that in a while. Thank you for that. My bet, says Mark, Biden drops, but they will wait until convention, which gives Israel time so they can then remove Biden and associated blame from both wars. Look, Netanyahu is a lying scumbag, but one thing I think he is being honest about is that there aren't that many months left in this, and that's because there's not much of Gaza left, tragically.
Right.
I mean,
right.
I don't
How much
take any,
more are you going to bomb?
I don't take any pleasure in saying that, but that's just my honest read of it. But you're right in the sense that I think they are going to want to get this war done in time so the next nominee will not be perceived to be, soiled by that. Wow, we had two members come in 1 minute apart from each other. Oh, we're going to have to come up with something. I mean, that was more or less a tie. I don't know who signed up first because they're 1 minute apart. So we might have to come up with a little something for each. You have to break it in half. Again, send people
like the chalk circle, the Caucasian chalk circle.
Yeah. We have two that came in right now, two $8 signups. Literally, one sent to me at 10:09. The other email got sent at 10:10. So that could be it.
So the 10:09 one gets it then.
Yeah, I mean, that's just luck, though, because, I mean, they could have signed up at the same time and the emails just could have sent differently. But if we're going to go by luck, I guess we got to go by luck. All right. I'll come up with something nice to send to the
You just tell me who the other one is, and I'll send them something nice.
All right, we'll send you something nice.
But the 10:09 person gets the skull.
Yeah, he'll get the skull. All
is.
right, fair enough. That's the way it works. That's the evidence we have, right? We'll send you something nice. That's like Johnny Sack in The Sopranos. He beats the kid up. Is he married? He lives with his mother. I'll send her something nice. I'll send her something nice. Yeah. Cool app called No Thanks. Download to your smartphone and scan barcodes to ensure a product is not associated with Israel. Okay, that's the app.
No thanks. Okay.
Thanks. All right. Kenman, thanks for the $2.79. Israel has power. They will get away with it. Yes. Well, they will in the sense that no one's going to stop them. But I think, as Russell said and as I've said, they will be a pariah on the world stage moving forward. That's what this ICJ stuff is about. I don't think they're going to get away with this long term. I think there will be they will be sanctioned. I mean, because you could see, it's just a matter of people.
Brazil kicked out their ambassador.
Right, Brazil kicked out the ambassador.
I think there many more are going to do that going forward. And as the horrors mount, you're going to see increasingly sanctions and ejections of Israeli ambassadors, and it's just going to snowball. It's going to be BRICS versus us. And you're even going to get some Western countries. You already have, Spain has cut off all arms sales to Israel. Mm-hmm. Spain and Ireland have brought a case before the EU to end certain trade deals with Israel based on its own charter. These things are gonna develop a lot of momentum because it's just going to become so impossible to deny that this is a great crime against humanity. You're just not going to be able to continue to frame this as the normal course of war.
Right. For sure. Dave Morrison Show Care went out with my family for my 40th earlier tonight. Oh, happy birthday, Dave Morrison. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Campianos feliz.
Yes, indeed. Happy birthday. Mazel tov. They're all riding with Biden, except they finally had to admit they're afraid Biden will break hip in second term. Well, they'll be riding with whoever the replacement is if my prediction is right. But happy birthday, sir. Hope it was fun, despite your lib family and their political prognostications. Roy the Goy, thanks for the $5. Keaton, as Russell's always pointing out, you're a Jew-Goy hybrid. Yes. Do you ever get in touch with your inner Goy?
A daywalker, as we say.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, my Catholic side of the family, they were almost all live in Malta, and so I almost never got to see any of them. I mean, my uncles and on that side of the family, I know, and I like them very much. Nothing against them. My grandparents were great. They lived here in New York, but just about everybody else lived overseas. So almost all of the extended family functions I went to growing up were with my New York Jewish side of the family. So that's why I don't know. I mean, it's hard to you say tap into my inner goy. I mean, like I said, I can't pay for parking. I don't really like to go anywhere. I mean, there's not much of the goy.
Do you like deviled eggs?
No.
See, he's more Jewish than I am. This guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I personally, I happen to like deviled eggs.
Yeah, not a deviled egg guy either. All right. Let's see here. Biden's phrasing about the Rafah invasion was similar to his "Are the strikes working? No. Are they going to continue? Yes. Good points. Good points. Yes. Well done. Not even a strongly worded letter, says Nocturnal Human, has been written against the IDF. That's right. They haven't even gotten any angry letters from us. How about that? Okay. We're going to move right along here. So Donald Trump is now the, Vegas odds makers' favorite to be elected president in 2024. And just like the Democrats relied on the intelligence community to stymie him when he was first elected in 2016, here's Adam Schiff continuing that trend. Here he is on NBC.
Let me ask you about this development this weekend. U.S. intelligence officials are planning to provide briefings for Donald Trump if he officially secures the nomination, despite the fact that he's facing 40 felony charges for his handling of classified documents. As the former chair of the House Intelligence Committee, do you think it's appropriate for him to receive intelligence briefings?
Well, that is the practice, but we've never had a situation where one of the candidates for president has been so criminally negligent when it comes to handling, if not worse, when it comes to handling classified information. So I have to hope, and knowing the intelligence community as I do, that they will dumb down the briefing for Donald Trump. That is, they will give him no more information than absolutely necessary, nothing that would reveal sources or methods, because we can't trust that he will do the right thing with that information. He's been so reckless. So, yes, it does concern me. It is part of a long tradition. They will be wary of what they share with him, and they should.
Now, he's talking about Donald Trump as the Republican nominee. So how does that not constitute some level of election interference, right? I mean, if you're going to give one candidate the information that the other candidate's supposed to have access to, but you're going to deny him that, does that not kind of rig the race in a certain way? That seems very unfair, as they would say, very unfair. But of course, this is nothing new here. This is a classic piece of video here. Here's Chuck Schumer with Rachel Maddow many moons ago saying essentially the same thing.
These shots, this antagonism, this taunting to the intelligence community.
Let me tell you take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. So even for a practical, supposedly hard-nosed businessman, he's being really dumb to do this.
What do you think the intelligence community would do if they were motivated?
I don't know, but from what I am told, they are very upset with how he has treated them and talked about them. And we need the intelligence community. We don't know what's going on. Look at the Russian hacking. Without the intelligence community, we wouldn't have discovered it.
Do you think he has an agenda to try to dismantle parts of the intelligence community? I mean, this form of taunting, hostility.
Whether you're a super liberal Democrat or a very conservative Republican, you should be against dismantling the intelligence community.
See, that was kind of the first we'd heard of that at the time, because I always thought at the time this was, post 2016, or was this pre-2016? I think this was pre-election. I think this was around the same phase.
I think it was before, yeah.
I think it was before the election. I always thought being a liberal Democrat.
Well, hang on, because he's saying the Russian hacking is proven. Were they asserting that before the election? Did they go that far already?
I think they were. I think they were at the time.
That the DNC was hacked. Yeah.
Somebody will know in the chat exactly when this was, but it was either like during the campaign, during the lame duck session, or immediately after he was sworn in. But I thought this was during the campaign. For some reason,
I seem to remember it that way as well.
Yeah, that's what people are saying pre-2016. Yeah, thank you, Vijaya. That was what I thought. So yeah, we're around the same phase of the game as we're in now with Adam Schiff making these comments, which is funny because at the time Chuck Schumer said this, it was news to me. Let me just play this one more time.
He has an agenda to try to dismantle parts of the intelligence community. I mean, this form of taunting hostility.
Whether you're a super liberal Democrat or a very conservative Republican, you should be against dismantling the intelligence community.
See, I always thought at the time, this is how naive I was, I thought that being a super liberal Democrat, which I more or less functioned as at the time, meant I should be for dismantling the intelligence community. It's like, to me, to be super liberal meant to be anti-CIA, anti-FBI overreach, anti-Patriot Act. But no, this was the first time where he gave us the memo. Actually, no, to the point where, whatever it is now, 8 years later.
Let me ask you about this development this weekend.
Well, what's really remarkable about this is the Democrats' whole argument for themselves is they are going to protect democracy. They are going to protect the norms and the guardrails. And here you have this pattern of celebrating the idea that all your worst fears about the intelligence agencies are true, and that's a good thing. They are celebrating the idea that the intelligence agencies can basically go rogue and act according to their own interests in regards to the elected chief executive of the country. Now that maybe I'm a little fucked up. Maybe I'm a little butts. That doesn't sound like democracy to me.
Yeah, no, and the other thing that Adam Schiff leaves out there is that according to Biden's own Justice Department, the reason he was not indicted for mishandling classified information is because he's not fit to stand trial, because he is, quote, an elderly man with a poor memory. Remember, they had a big freak out about that? That was gratuitous in their mind. No, that was the reason why they didn't indict him, is because you can't prove criminal intent when a guy doesn't have all his marbles left. But the same threats should be there, right? It's one thing if you want to say, hey, we can't charge Joe Biden with a crime because he's just an old man, he forgets things, he gets confused, right? But that's a separate question. Like, his criminal liability is a separate question from, can you trust him with these classified briefings? But according to Adam Schiff and everybody in the media, nobody's talked about withholding those from Joe Biden. Although I suspect, because you notice Adam Schiff says in there, they're going to dumb this stuff down for Trump. I'd be pretty shocked if they're not dumbing it down for Joe Biden. Because A, he's not all there, and B, he tends to blurt shit out. And so I'd be pretty surprised if they're giving him everything he's supposed to be getting.
Well, the idea that you would go on TV, like this is perfectly normal, saying the...
Bless you. Well,
there it goes. It was coming eventually. And just say openly, these unelected bureaucrats in the intelligence agencies, they're going to make their own decision about what the president's allowed to know.
Right.
That's great. That's great. That sounds great. It was one of perhaps the most bizarre spectacle I have seen in politics over the last 10 years, and that's a very high bar to clear, has been the way that Democrats, people who would think of themselves as being on the left, have been manipulated into celebrating the FBI and the CIA. It is fucking incredible. You're taking people like John Brennan, who, if we had a functioning government, would be doing 25 to life right now for spying on the Senate and then lying about it when questioned before Congress. He writes an op-ed for the New York Times against Trump. All the libs sharing it around, like celebrating this fucking CIA criminal.
Yeah.
Criminal. The suspicion of the intelligence services was always a bedrock left thing. Even center-left people.
Right.
Oh, yeah, the CIA, South America. I mean, it was just a given if you were any kind of person on the left. Now you want to hear that? Rand Paul, right? Josh Hawley. That's who you'll hear that from now. Trump.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I mean, you'll have a guy like Adam Schiff go on now and say that, of course they're going to dumb down his briefings. Of course they're going to withhold information from the president or the nominee, right?
And without any media pushback.
Not only no media pushback.
Well, isn't that really improper?
Well, no, not only that, not only no pushback, these same people will, out of the other side of their mouth, call you a crazy conspiracy theorist for thinking there's a deep state. Oh, the deep state. What does that even mean, deep
even
state?
As
what does
they
that
describe
even mean, deep state? That's what they say. What is that? What are you even talking about? Well, what do you mean? You said it, not me. You're the one who said, here's Chuck Schumer. They have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you.
No, but from what I am told, they are very upset with how they're getting back at.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, you take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. So
the same people
who
watch that.
That's great. Wow. I feel reassured now. Thanks, Chuck.
Yeah. The same people who watch that will say there is no deep state. There's no deep state. Conspiracy.
Even as they describe it.
Even as they describe it. You just literally said it to your face.
As a good thing.
You. Yeah. This is why you can't run a Democratic primary, folks, is what we say all the time. Okay? I mean, that's basically it right there. The same people who watch that, who will then tell you there is no deep state, those are the people that these left insurgent candidates are trying to convince to do the right thing. There is no convincing people. You can watch Chuck Schumer say the intelligence communities have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you if they don't like you, but then call you a conspiracy theorist for saying there's a deep state. That is a voter who is not available to you. You cannot communicate with a person like that.
Only the worst people are left inside the system. That's the problem.
That's the problem.
And that's, in happier times, if we can call them that. This was something Sanders always said. Sanders always said they want to demoralize you. They want you to give up. What he didn't tell you was that he was going to help.
Yeah, he's going to help them demoralize you. Right. Exactly. All right. Sandy M, thanks for the $5. I wear the obtuse non-responses at the press briefings. I swear, I apologize. I swear the obtuse non-responses at these press briefings are consciously designed to wear us down and convince us that resistance is futile. Yeah, it is quite amazing. I mean, these guys, him and the other guy, I forget the other guy's name, but Matthew Miller and then the shorter guy that they send out sometimes. Just absolutely brutal. And I think there might be something to that. I don't know how these journalists don't just scream. They don't even get answers. They just get stonewalled. Yeah, it's amazing.
Well, what's funny is because it's a genocide. You can't just do cold and bloodless. So you have these cold and bloodless sociopaths trying to feign human emotion, and it's just creepy.
Yeah, exactly. Scott George, all about the beachfront property. It's all about the land.
Yep.
That is true.
Yep.
Zionists, see what you did there, radical leftist extremists, are the new snowflakes and Karens. Yeah, that was Nick's quote. Zionism is Karenism. That's funny. Schumer 6 ways from Sunday, January 2017. Okay, so it was before Trump. It was after he won, but before he took off.
But before,
okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you for that clarification. Okay. All right. We are going to close the show out with kind of a big segment, kind of a two-parter. Russell, man of the air, has been on the Boeing beat for the past few months. Keaton, man of the ground, has not.
Man of the air, opponent of the puberty blockers.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's your Native American name.
He who fights transing the children.
Right.
So, all right. So Boeing, is a story that I've been on for a while, because it did catch my attention after the MAX crashes. And it was one of those things that kind of in our space, in the alternative media space, it just kind of slipped through the cracks because the fucking world is on fire and we're always chasing this and that and the other thing. And, but the MAX crashes really exposed that Boeing was a very dangerous company. And there were whistleblowers then saying this is just the beginning. and describing the practices that they saw in the factories and so on that were going to lead to inevitably more crashes. And while thankfully there haven't been any crashes yet, it's literally you're having multiple incidents with Boeing planes on a weekly basis now.
And
so
that's true. Before you go to your exhibit, actually, Russell has been on this beat for a long time. In fact, the first article pitch you ever gave me, before we even knew each other that well, never mind co-hosting the show, the first article pitch he sent me for the blog was an article about the 737 MAX, the Boeing MAX. You've actually been on this beat for a while. And I see some people in the chat asking, are we switching to Rumble? We will be going to Rumble for the post-show Q&A. So all our segments this evening are on both channels, but the post-show Q&A will be on Rumble. So we'll be heading over there soon. Don't worry. I'll give you guys the heads up.
We just don't know what you crazy bastards are going to say on the mic.
Exactly.
We got to go over there.
Yeah, just
So here's a hodgepodge of recent headlines. Tire flies off United Boeing plane shortly after takeoff. Boeing 737 MAX 8 ran off Texas runway into grassy area, says United Airlines. Now, not all of these say Boeing. United, I will not fly United now. You know why? They have the largest fleet of Boeing MAXs in the world. I think they have 79 Boeing MAXs. I will not fly United.
I thought they had gender-inclusive bathrooms. I thought that was
well, Delta has that too. So, and I fly Delta. United flight. Hey, as long as they're not 15, live your best life.
Live your best life.
United flight returns to airport after engine catches fire shortly after takeoff. United Airlines reports fifth flight incident in a week as jet turns back due to maintenance issue. That one, they never explained what it was. So I compiled a little footage where footage is available of some of these incidents. My apologies to those of you who are already nervous flyers. This is not going to cure you of that condition, I assure you. Yeah, there you go. Imagine looking out the window of the plane you're on and seeing that.
God.
Yeah, so this was March 4th. This was another one where the engine caught on fire again. And okay, so you got to watch that closely. I'm going to go back, watch the tire fall off. See that?
Off, yep.
There goes the tire.
It literally just happened. There are so many police here now. It's crazy. So these two cars, and they found some of the landing gear over there. They think it was a United 777.
Yeah, so took out a few cars on the way when it landed. Okay, so in the latest terrifying incident, this is yesterday. This is March 11th. At least 50 hurt as LATAM's Boeing 787 to Auckland just dropped mid-flight. At least 50 people were hurt when a Boeing 787 operated by LATAM Airlines dropped abruptly mid-flight from Sydney to Auckland on Monday, according to the airline and a New Zealand health service organization that treated the injured. The aircraft experienced a strong shake, and as a result, 10 passengers and 3 cabin crew members were taken to a hospital, the South African carrier said, as it investigates the cause. The flight with 263 passengers and 9 cabin crew members landed at Auckland Airport as scheduled on Monday afternoon. One person is in serious condition, while the rest suffered mild to moderate injuries, a spokesperson for Hato Hone St. John, which treated roughly 50 people at the airport, said. Quote, the plane unannounced just dropped. I mean, it dropped unlike anything I've ever experienced on any kind of minor turbulence, and people were thrown out of their seats, hit the top of the roof of the plane, throwing down the aisles, passenger Brian Jocat told the BBC. Okay, so we have a edited version of a CNN interview with that passenger. So let's take a look.
I had dozed off and luckily had my seatbelt engaged, and the next thing you know, the plane, as I've kind of kind of learned to understand, dropped something to the effect of 500 feet instantly, and then had the effect of it coming like a roller coaster, and then started to point down. And that's when I opened my eyes, and there was various individuals at the top of the plane, just stuck to the roof, and then they fell to the floor.
Oh my God.
So the pilot, after this happens, comes back to check on everybody after.
Okay, yeah, we were talking about this before this. Now, I have flown, I counted, because I knew we were doing this tonight. So I've taken 21 flights in the last 12 months, which I believe is more than I've taken in my entire life collectively in the last year. And I've been flying enough that I can notice different kinds of flyers. You could tell the people who fly a lot as part of their job, because when you hit that normal turbulence that flights have all the time, they're the motherfuckers who are just sitting there on their laptop. Like they don't give a shit.
Right.
But even with 21 flights, I'm sorry, man. I'm gripping those handrests when the plane starts doing that. I always like the window seat. So very often I'm watching the wing going up and down at those moments. Something like this, I can't even imagine.
You got passengers ended up on the ceiling.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
They're lucky no one got killed. You could snap your neck if you hit
the
ceiling.
It's incredible that no one got killed.
Yeah.
I think what I've thought about this, because the statistic, it's more dangerous to drive in a car. And sure, I mean, how many people do you know who have been in car accidents versus plane crashes, right? But I think it's because you have absolutely no control over what's going to happen to you. That's part of what's so scary about it. This plane goes down, there's nothing you can do.
There's nothing you can do, and you're guaranteed not to make it. Like that is one part of it. The other part of it is that any minor defect with the plane can cause a crash, in which case you're done.
Right. There's so many little things there.
Right. Like my father's friend, short Jewish guy, afraid to fly. He was a cab driver his whole life. He was a cab driver. He is still alive, but he's not a cab driver anymore. And he says, if I'm driving down the road and my engine overheats, I pull over, I'm fine. I'm on a plane, the engine overheats, I'm fucking dead. He was telling us a story about one time he was flying and he was nervous, like visibly nervous, like, trembling, breathing, fast and just visibly kind of disturbed. And one of the flight attendants comes over to him and says, "Sir, what's wrong?" And he says, "What's wrong? Look where we are." What's wrong? We're 30,000 fucking feet in the air. That's what's wrong. We're not supposed to be here. Yeah.
Well, and that does occur to me. I'm not so jaded that does not occur to me sometimes in a flight. I'm not what you would call a nervous flyer. I think I would say I'm normal. Like most people don't like that turbulence shit. I don't think most people are real comfortable when they start feeling that feeling of the plane dropping in the wind.
Yeah, they get on it.
That's the level. I get a little nervous. Nothing crazy. But if this shit happened,
no, fuck that.
Oh man, I would be
yeah.
So now listen to what the captain told this guy is pretty scary in regards to the quality of these planes that Boeing is rolling off the assembly line.
The incident comes over to where you are. Brian, how did he look?
I think he was in shock. I think he felt that he wanted to see what people were going through. He walked to the back and I immediately engaged with him and said, what was that? And he openly admitted, he said, I lost control of the plane. My gauges just kind of went blank on me. And that's when the plane just took a dive.
So literally he says the gauges went blank.
Yeah, he said they malfunctioned.
Mm-hmm. And did he say that made it so he didn't have the ability then to even control it, to fly it?
He said for that brief moment he couldn't control anything, and that's when the plane just did what it did, and then he said the gauges came back and then re-engaged, and the plane just re-engaged to its normal flight pattern.
Was it silent?
So you get that? The plane just died in the middle of the flight and plunged. And then, for whatever reason, it turned back on. Maybe they hit the dashboard a few times.
Yeah, like in Back to the Future when he can't get to the wire, and Donnie's like, "Fuck!" and then it turns on. Yeah.
Just wow. Okay, so now he describes what the 45 minutes remaining in the flight was like on that plane.
What were those last 45 minutes like?
There was
long lines for the bathroom. That's what it was like.
Silence from the ones that were okay, and then a lot of you could hear people sobbing and a lot of people kind of in pain with just kind of hunched over and people shaking, like their hands were shaking, and it was bizarre.
Okay, so just to add to your comfort the next time you get on a plane that's not an Airbus, FAA audit of Boeing 737 MAX production found dozens of issues. The company failed 33 of 89 audits during an examination conducted by the FAA after a panel blew off an Alaska Airlines jet in January. I didn't even bother including that because I'm assuming most of you heard about that. A 6-week audit by the FAA of Boeing's production of the 737 MAX jet found dozens of problems throughout the manufacturing process at the plane maker and one of its key suppliers, according to a slide presentation reviewed by the New York Times. The air safety regulator initiated the examination after a door panel blew off a 737 MAX 9 during an Alaska Airlines flight in early January. Last week, the agency announced that the audit had found multiple instances in which Boeing and the supplier Spirit Aerosystems failed to comply with quality control requirements, though it did not provide specifics about the findings. For the portion of the examination focused on Boeing, the FAA conducted 89 product audits, a type of review that looks at aspects of the production process. The plane maker passed 56 of the audits and failed 33 of them, with a total of 97 instances of alleged non-compliance, according to the presentation. The FAA also conducted 13 product audits for the part of the inquiry that focused on Spirit Aerosystems, which makes the fuselage or body of the 737 MAX. 6 of those audits resulted in passing grades, and 7 resulted in failing ones, the presentation said. That's exactly what you want to hear about the people making the fuselage of the plane, failing more than half the time.
Wow.
This is my favorite part of this entire article. Get ready. Really, you're never going to want to get on a plane again. At one point during the examination, the Air Safety Agency observed mechanics at Spirit using a hotel key card to check a door seal, according to a document that describes some of the findings. That action was, quote, not identified, documented, called out in the production order, the document said. Wait, it gets better. In another instance, the FAA saw Spirit mechanics apply liquid Dawn soap to a door seal as lubricant in the fit-up process, according to the document. The door seal was then cleaned with a wet cheesecloth, the document said, noting that instructions were, quote, vague and unclear on what specifications actions are to be followed or recorded by the mechanic. Now, I just want to pause here for a moment, because if you are old enough to remember the height of the Cold War, the 80s, the kind of part 2 of the height of the Cold War, first one being the 50s, and we kind of, with Reagan coming in, it all ramped up again. A very common joke about the Soviets was the idea that they would do shit like that. Oh, right. Don't worry, comrade, a little spit. You punch a couple times, it will work. We were told that's what communism does. Right? Communism leads to all of these shortages and poor quality workers who don't really care, and they're cutting corners, and they're going to put dangerous technology out there that can only be held together with spit and baling wire. We were told communism was going to do that. Well, looks like capitalism in its late stages actually is where you end up in a place where you have completely incompetent workers using fucking dish soap to assemble a plane. Dish soap.
Dish soap.
Okay. So, asked about the appropriateness of using a hotel key card or Dawn soap in those situations.
Dawn soap, not just dish soap. Dawn soap.
Dawn
Couldn't even
soap.
spring for the Nature's Promise.
There you go. Or Palmolive. At least get the Palmolive.
The Palmolive. That's right.
A spokesman for Spirit, Joe Buccino, said the company was reviewing all identified nonconformities for corrective action. One audit at Spirit that focused on the door plug component found 5 problems. One of those problems, the presentation said, was that Boeing, quote, failed to provide evidence of approval of minor design change under a method acceptable to the FAA, unquote. It was not clear from the presentation what the design change was. Another audit dealt with the installation of the door plug, and it was among those that Spirit failed. Okay, now listen to this, because they use a very fancy, very newspeak way of basically saying the workers don't know what the fuck they're doing, and there are no standards applied to who gets hired to do this. The audit raised concerns about the Spirit technicians who carried out the work and found that the company, quote, failed to determine the knowledge necessary for the operation of its processes. You get that? Basically, the company has no standards and just hired whoever the fuck walked in the door who would do this job at the low wages they're getting paid.
Right.
Other audits that Spirit failed included one that involved a cargo door and another that dealt with the installation of cockpit windows. Okay, so finally, to close out this portion of the scaring the shit out of our audience part of the show, this clip has been floating around from Al Jazeera. It's part of a longer investigation. One of the employees at Boeing became whistleblower and went undercover with his own hidden camera and talked to his coworkers about whether they would fly on these planes and what's actually going on in these assembly plants, and it's pretty terrifying.
This is a Boeing factory in the U.S. state of South Carolina. Workers here in Charleston are assembling the company's flagship product, the 787 Dreamliner. But this footage reveals some have little faith in the plane they build.
Did you fly on one? No. You won't fly on one. Did you fly on one of these planes?
Of 15 workers asked randomly, 10 said they would not fly on the Dreamliner.
I wouldn't fly on one of these planes because I see the quality going down around here.
An employee captured the footage after contacting Al Jazeera to tell us he had serious concerns about what he was seeing. At his request, we changed his voice.
With all the problems reported on the 787, there's 90% that's getting swept away. Hushed up. It's an iceberg.
In another meeting, the source told us workers are often underskilled, uncaring, and in some cases on drugs.
I've seen a lot of things that should not go on at an airplane plant. People talking about doing drugs, looking for drugs.
It's all coke and painkillers and you can get weed here. It's really good weed here. They don't drug test nobody.
I know they don't.
There's people who go out there and lunch go smoke one up.
Do they?
Hell yeah.
Over the course of a year, Al Jazeera's investigative unit...
Okay. So,
can't imagine why those guys might want to remain anonymous, though. It really seems kind of unnecessary, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's not like somebody's going to whack you and call it a suicide or anything.
Right. Yeah.
No. No, I don't know why they won't come forward, and just because this country is so kind to whistleblowers.
Yeah, it seems kind of paranoid. Yeah,
a little paranoid. Hey, I don't want to say it. Hey, I'm flying a lot myself. I'm going back out to LA next month, so it's not like I have no skin in the game. Eventually, a plane gauge is going to cut out and not come back on, or a
Of
door
course, it's Russian
panel
roulette.
is. Sure, when you're having problems like this multiple times a week, it's a miracle none of these planes have crashed yet. It's incredible that none of these have led to a crash. But when you've got these kinds of endemic problems, which were warned about years ago, all of these whistleblowers were cut, like the one we're about to cover, have been talking about this for years. Since those Maxes crashed, they've been coming out and saying, hey, the processes in these factories are not safe. The way these planes are being built is not safe. And now the chickens are coming home to roost. And because the bar to entry in manufacturing consumer aircraft is so high, we're fucked because you got Airbus and you got Boeing. Northrop Grumman, I don't think they even do passenger planes. I think they just do military contracting. So what do you do now when one of the two manufacturers of passenger planes has been so corrupted by the incentives of capitalism and chasing Wall Street approval that they can no longer be trusted to build planes? What are they going to do? Are they going to take all these planes out of service that they've built over the last 10 years under this regime? It's a very bad situation. And right now it's like, well, that sounds crazy. Well, what about when 2 or 3 of these fall out of the sky? They're going to have to. And then what's that going to do to air travel? This is a very serious situation.
Obviously, yeah. Obviously. And the kind of indictment of capitalism that, you said it was years ago, 5 years ago by now.
Even I mean, on that Soviet thing, even what was the Bruce Willis thing? Armageddon, the meteor thing.
Yeah, the meteor one. Yeah,
they made that joke in that, right? Because they go up to the Russian space station, and by that time we're good with the Russians, so they play it as funny, how they're kind of like these crude grease monkeys who make everything work by banging on it.
Right, exactly.
Right, but that's us.
Right, that's us, indeed.
But it's not working.
No,
at least the Russians made that shit work most of the time.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Pulled it off, as they say. His Highness, thanks to the $1. While I agree with your sentiment 100%, Russ, I just want to remind you, making the Germans pay for it after World War I, so caused World War II.
You got a point. But I think the PR around what they did in World War II was severe enough that if you gave the Jews the Rhine, they would have shut the fuck up about it.
Well, not just that, but yeah, also Germany was split up. And so you had, a perfect opportunity to do it. And if there was moment, like, look, I'm not a Zionist in the sense that I don't believe we needed a state after World War II.
Well, there's that.
I don't think we needed it. But if you were going to give us one, if you're going to give us a state, we'll take a state. Hey, we'll take a state. You want to give us a state? We'll take a state. Yeah, Germany is where that should have gone. Absolutely, 100%. Roy the Goy, Russell, how did a gregarious world traveler like yourself hook up with a misanthropic agoraphobe like Keaton? We met shitposting on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yep.
Also remember, man, I didn't really travel. I've said this on the show before. COVID, like a lot of people, I had a lot of time to do a lot of thinking. And it really brought home to me, don't assume you can do shit next year.
Right.
You don't know, man. You don't know. Maybe fucking pandemic, maybe World War III, especially in these times.
Oh, my friend was going to go to Italy in March of 2020.
Things.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I wasn't traveling. And actually, I'll tell you the truth. When I was going to go to India, I was on the way to the plane. And hey, if you're an American and you're not like a well-traveled American, you've heard all that shit. Fuck it. Yo, Keaton put that shit in my head too, man. Keaton was like, don't die. All right.
Yeah.
Like we have these ideas about, you're going to go to India, you're going to get fucking leprosy or something, right? So I was on the way on the plane.
You're going to be out in the woods. You can get eaten by stampeded by a camel or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Even our own audience, they're like, The most deadly snake in India is the Russell
snakes,
viper.
Right. You don't know. Yeah,
It's the Russell viper. It's
Russell
meant for
viper,
you,
that's
right?
Yes.
Which is true, actually. That is the most deadly snake in India. But I was going in the winter. They're in hibernation. But that aside, yeah, man, when I was going on the subway on the way to get to the airport, I had a moment of panic. I had like a panic attack. Like, I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't go to India. I can't.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about what kind of limits I would have to live with for the rest of my life if I made that choice.
Right.
So I did it. And because I went through that door, that's why I've been able to go to all of these other places. That's it. You got to lean into your fear. You got to go past your fear. It's not worth living your life that way because you know what? You're going to end up dead either way.
Yeah. Should have a sound drop for that. Should have some inspiring music to play under that. Exactly. Libs acknowledge the military-industrial complex, but deny the existence of the deep state. Thank you, 6gen. That's like acknowledging an apartment building exists, but claiming its inhabitants are a myth. Exactly. Snorky, that plane was a 787-9 glass cockpit, no gauges, all screens. Boeing, no good. If it doesn't come back, banging, no good. Sorry. If it doesn't come back, you're getting ready for a funeral. There you go. Well, thank you for that insight, Snorky. Appreciate that. At Boeing, we decrease passenger safety on our planes to increase shareholder value, says Dr.
Well, that's exactly it.
Yep. That's it. Z. McMahon, you fly enough, you grow to love the turbulence. Flying as hell. Might as well enjoy the ride. There you go. That's a good way to look at it. That's a good attitude. I like that attitude.
You know you're joking, but I've tried that.
Oh yeah.
Like to just enjoy it.
To join, yeah. It's hard.
I'm not there yet.
I'm not there
yet.
Yeah. Bless you, brother Russ, says Christos.
Thank you, man.
Scott asks, how much for the Leho Fuchs t-shirt? Scott George, yeah.
I'm keeping that one.
He got that one just for London. Yeah, indeed.
Yep.
P. Walker, to be fair, Boeing, there you go, doesn't make engines. Probably Pratt and Whitney, possibly Rolls-Royce. P and W had their own 737 MAX issue, but that's only resulted in the engine ripping itself apart after takeoff. Wow. Thank you, P. Walker. Russ is like John Lithgow in Amazing Stories, says Virtuoso. I don't know that reference. I never saw that.
I mean, I remember Amazing Stories, but I don't know what specifically you're referring to because that was the Steven Spielberg produced anthology series.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, there must have been a lot to see there. Axel Strife, thank you, Axel. No better metaphor for what a Buttigieg presidency would be than train derailments and planes falling out of the sky. That's true. Secretary of Transportation, where's he in all this?
What a bang-up job he's doing.
Haven't heard anything from him about that. Yeah. Good call.
Who knew when you make a small town mayor the Secretary of Transportation that he would have no idea what the fuck he's doing?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Who could have seen that coming?
A thanks for dropping out just in time appointment. Yeah.
A fake pigeon Norwegian speaker, Pete Buttigieg, can't run the Department of Transportation. Shocker.
Exactly. Folks, we're getting ready to switch to Rumble. We got one more segment. It's sort of a part 2 of our Boeing segment tonight. But once we're done with this, we will be going to Rumble, dodissidents.com/Rumble. That takes you right to this live stream. So if you want to head over, you can head over. There will be a 5-minute intermission after the show before our Q&A, but that's coming up soon. And we are exclusively on Rumble tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern. So join our Substack, dodissidents.substack.com. That gives you access to the newsletter with the link to the stream and everything. Obviously, follow us on Rumble as well. But the Rumble live stream alerts don't always go out on time. Sometimes they go out like 20 minutes after the show has already started. So the best way to stay on top of where we're going to be is to join our Substack. It's free. That's a newsletter. Make sure you join dodissidents.substack.com so you don't miss tomorrow's show because that is a banger of a show we have in store for you tomorrow. But I do want to bring attention to this totally non-suspicious development. Boeing whistleblower John Barnett found dead in the United States. This is from the BBC. Now, the BBC is an esteemed publication, but apparently the concept of paragraphs is not something they embrace there. I don't know why each sentence needs its own paragraph, but this is the way it's published in the paper. They don't know how to join sentences together to form a paragraph. It was a pain in the ass to format this. Seriously, every sentence is its own space. So I don't know why. I never heard of that. Anyway, a former Boeing employee known for raising concerns about the firm's production standards has been found dead in the United States. John Barnett worked for Boeing for more than 30 years before retiring in 2017. In the days before his death, he had been giving evidence in a whistleblower lawsuit against the company. Boeing said it was saddened to hear of Mr. Barnett's passing. I'm sure they were. The Charleston County coroner confirmed his death to the BBC on Monday. It said
you mean he's not going to get to testify on Saturday?
Not going to get to testify again?
Gosh darn it. We were really curious about what he had to say.
Yeah, we had a gift basket for him and everything. It said the 62-year-old had died from a, quote, self-inflicted wound on March 9th, and police were investigating. Mr. Barnett had worked for the U.S. plane giant for more than 30 years until his retirement in 2017 on health grounds. From 2010, he worked as a quality manager at the North Charleston plant, making the 787 Dreamliner, a state-of-the-art airliner used mainly on long-haul routes. In 2019, Mr. Barnett told the BBC that under-pressure workers had been deliberately fitting substandard parts to aircraft on the production line. He also said he had uncovered serious problems with oxygen systems, which could mean 1 in 4 breathing masks would not work in an emergency. 1 in 4. That's quite a few. He said soon after starting work in South Carolina, he had become concerned that the push to get new aircraft built meant the assembly process was rushed and safety was compromised, something the company denied. He later told the BBC that workers had failed to follow procedures intended to track components through the factory, allowing defective components to go missing. He said in some cases, substandard parts had even been removed from scrap bins and fitted to planes that were being built to prevent delays on the production line. He also claimed that tests on emergency oxygen systems due to be fitted on the 787, showed a failure rate of 25%, meaning 1 in 4 could fail to deploy in a real-life emergency. Mr. Barnett said he had alerted managers to his concerns, but no action had been taken. Boeing denied his assertions. However, a 2017 review by the U.S. regulator, the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA, did uphold some of Mr. Barnett's concerns. It established that the location of at least 53 non-conforming parts in the factory was unknown and that they were considered lost. Boeing was ordered to take remedial action. On the oxygen cylinders issue, the company said in 2017 it had identified some oxygen bottles received from the supplier that were not deploying properly, but it denied that any of them were actually fitted on aircraft. After retiring,
that's the end of it. Why would you not trust these guys?
Right, yeah, exactly. After retiring, he embarked on a long-running legal action against the company. He accused it of denigrating his character and hampering his career because of the issues he pointed out, charges rejected by Boeing. At the time of his death, Mr. Barnett had been in Charleston for legal interviews linked to that case. Last week, he gave a formal deposition in which he was questioned by Boeing's lawyers before being cross-examined by his own counsel. He had been due to undergo further questioning on Saturday. When he did not appear, inquiries were made at his hotel. He was subsequently found dead in his truck in the hotel car park. Speaking to the BBC, his lawyer described his death as tragic. Let's see some video. This is from TMZ of John Barnett talking about some of these same things.
This is not a 737 problem. It's a Boeing problem. And I know the FAA's gone in and they've done due diligence and inspections to assure that the door plugs of the 737 are installed properly and the fasteners are torqued properly. But my concern is what's the rest of the airplane? What's the rest of the condition of the airplane? And the reason my concern for that is back in 2012, Boeing started removing inspection operations off their jobs. So it left the mechanics to buy off their own work. So what we're seeing with the door plug blowout is what I've seen with the rest of the airplane, as far as jobs not being completed properly, inspection steps being removed, issues being ignored. My concerns are with the 737 and the 787, because those programs have really embraced the theory that quality is overhead and non-value added. So those two programs have really put a strong effort into removing quality from the process. When I first started working at Charleston, I was in charge with pushing back defects to our suppliers. And what that meant was I'd take a group of inspectors and actually go to the supplier and inspect their product before they sent it in. Well, I'd taken a team of 4 inspectors to Spirit Aerosystems to inspect the 41 section before they sent it to Charleston. And we found 300 defects. Some of them were significant that needed engineering intervention. When I returned to Charleston, my senior manager told me that we had found too many defects, and he was going to take the next trip. So the next trip he went on, he took 2 of my inspectors. And when they got back, they were given accolades for only finding 50 defects. So I pulled that inspector aside and I said, did Spirit really clean up their act that quick? That don't sound right. And she was mad. She said, no. Said the 2 inspectors were given 2 hours to inspect the whole 41 section, and they were kicked off the airplane.
So that's John Bartnett's, according to the official story, self-deleted is that we are supposed to say here.
He deleted himself, yes.
Berlin. Yeah, I don't know what theories we're allowed to espouse about this. I guess if we suspect Putin did it, we'll be okay, right?
Well, Putin's got his fingerprints all over this.
Yeah, all over,
Clearly.
right?
Yeah, it was Putin.
This is the price of freedom, though. It's the price of freedom, right?
It's the price of freedom.
The literal price of freedom.
The price of freedom are planes dropping out of the sky. And I will say again, I've been saying this since I started.
And people who blow the whistle on it dead in a pickup truck before they finish their
there's nothing funny about that at all. That this guy who was in the middle of a crusade against this company, about to testify, bringing this case against Boeing, that makes total sense that he would delete himself right before testifying. I would not question that at all. This was clearly a safe and effective self-deletion.
Yeah.
And you're a cuckoo crazy pants if you think otherwise.
Right. Exactly. What more can you say? That's the literal price of freedom, folks.
And once I've been saying this since I started on this. Dennis Muhlenberg, who was the CEO of Boeing, who knew that the MAX was not safe, and kept sending it up, and even after one crashed, blamed it vaguely on the foreign pilots who had been flying the plane.
Right.
Strongly implied those pilots, they're not properly trained. That guy should be in prison for life. I don't believe in the death penalty, but yes, that guy should be in prison for life. He's the mayor in Jaws who knew there was a shark and told people to go in the water, and just walked away with a nice golden parachute, free man. Hundreds of people are dead because of him.
So rest in peace, John Barnett, one of the many dissidents of the year, it looks like.
Yes.
Amongst many others, we will have to say.
We have to remember him when time comes to name our dissidents.
Our dissidents, yeah, indeed. Going to be hard to top Aaron Bushnell, obviously. That's probably a lock, but honorable mention, perhaps.
Honorable mention, yes.
P. Walker, thank you for the $5. ATC to Boeing flight. Hello, IT. Have you tried turning off and on again? Please be quick. Please do it quickly. Egg 64, Boeing sycophants released a news report of an Airbus pilot falling asleep in the pilot's seat, and the flight still landed safely. Funny that even passively, it's more safe than a damn 737 through 777.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't that only say good things about the Airbus?
Yeah, exactly. Witness the glaring absence of professionalism at all levels of Western society. Yes, thank you, P. Walker. It's no wonder Russia trying to run circles around us. Yeah, of course. Look at the idiocy. fucking Dawn soap, hotel cards. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
You can't make that shit up. Yo, Landrew, drop us some money, man. I made you your sound drop.
I don't know if Landrew's here.
I'm very disappointed.
That's all right. Well, when the moment comes, we will get it. Where's Kill? Keaton, can you invest in an AI Rust just in case? It's funny. Eric Arnold, sorry if I don't know if you wanted me to say your whole name, but I just blurted it out by accident. One of our patrons who sign up at a high enough tier where you get a private call with us. We were just talking about that before we went on the air. That maybe we'll create AI versions of ourselves so we could take certain nights off and trick you guys. That'd be funny.
Or maybe we already have.
Maybe we already have. Maybe we already have. You never know. Never know. You'll be able to tell by how fast my hair grows, right? You'll be able to track that.
You have those creepy fucking AI programs where you can feed in all of the texts and emails of a person after they die. And you'll keep getting texts from that person.
Yeah, that is
I don't know why on earth you would want that. That would make me burst into tears if I did that with someone I cared about. Every time I got one of those texts, I would be a basket case.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, it seems like a horrible way to just like torture yourself.
Right? Why would you do that?
Toby Clear. Free PDF, The World Teacher for All Humanity by Benjamin Creme. Believe it or not, he's a.k.a. the Imam Mahdi. Christ, Maitreya, man, this is a hard one. Buddha, Krishna, Messiah, not a religious figure. Books easy to find, geopolitics, sanity. Thank you for that.
We're really not joiners. Isn't that obvious?
Doc Dirk, in U.S. military, we have the most competent, overpriced military equipment supplied by Boeing. What could go wrong? Yes. 007 Angelo, thanks for the $1. So Boeing new advertisement will be our planes will crash into buildings on their own. Just effing wow. Yeah, exactly. I'd say it was Arkansas-sided. That's your theory. Not ours. Not ours. It was nothing to see there.
Nothing to see.
Except maybe Putin, of course. Maybe Putin. You could never put it past Putin, right?
They Navalny'd him.
Yeah, right, exactly. All right, everybody, that is our show, but we got a post-show question and answer over on Rumble. 1,800 of you guys are already over there, just a little over 2,000 on YouTube. So if you guys want to continue the party and hang out with us, you can go to dodissidents.com/Rumble. That takes you over to this live stream. We want to thank Jake for being in the chat tonight, Field and Rumble Rants. You can go to dodissidents.com/Rumble. That takes you right to this stream where we will continue the night after a 5-minute post-show intermission. Once again, we will be exclusively on Rumble tomorrow, so make sure you sign up to our Substack so you don't miss the show. You'll get an email in the morning confirming 2 p.m. Rumble with the link to the show, so you're there on time. You're not going to want to miss that one. That's going to be a great one. Thanks to our patrons, our paid Substackers, our paid Locals members. We're now doing 4 shows a week. Some of those are uncensored Rumble exclusive streams. So
he made it in.
Oh, he did make it
in under the wire.
Oh, vote no on genocide. Joe says Landrew. Look at that. Thank you. Wow, what a contribution.
Landrew. Landrew is dead.
There you go. Play it one more time for Landrew because I spoke over it.
I am Landrew. Landrew is dead.
There you go.
Apparently, Captain Kirk got it wrong. Landrew is very much alive and giving us those sweet, sweet super chats.
Thank you. That's very kind of you. And vote no on genocide, Joe. Absolutely. Thank you. And yeah, we made you your own personal sound drop there, Landrew. Thank you very much for that donation. Folks, thank you all very much for being here tonight. Thank you, Jake, in the booth. We got 1,800. There we go. And a cowbell, too. That's right. 1,826 of you filing in over on Rumble already. We are going to end the show here. We will be back exclusively on Rumble tomorrow at 2 p.m. and 9 a.m. on all our channels on Thursday morning. But if you want to hang out with us for the question and answer, all are welcome to join. You can type your questions to us in the chat at Do Dissidents. If you want to put a few bucks on it, make it a Rumble rant that guarantees that we'll see it, or almost guarantees. I hope I don't miss anybody. We'll try not to. We have Jake, so we should be cool. head over there if you want to come and hang out with us for the Q&A after party. Patrons, paid Substackers, paid Locals members, now's the time, and those phone lines are open. So during the intermission, call in if you'd like. We'll see you guys all after a 5-minute break over on Rumble. Until then, of course, be safe and be well.
And the return of an actual acoustic prayer ball. Courage!
Please clap.